Hello, I'm Mr. Precella, and today I thought we would work the review for Quiz 2. And let's see. The first question. Find an equation of the line having the given slope and containing the given point. Okay, the slope is 7 and the point is 9, 1. And we want the equation of a line. Let me switch over to my work. Right here, we're looking at number 1. Just ignore that right there for the time being. Well, we know slope-intercept form of a line is y equals mx plus b. And they were nice enough to give us the slope. Remember, m is the slope of the line. So we know y is equal to 7x plus b. Remember, b is the y-intercept. That's where the graph passes through the y-axis. But they didn't give us the y-intercept. 9, 1. You go right 9 and up 1. That's not on the y-axis. But they did give us an x and a y. 9 is acting like x, and 1 is acting like y. So we could plug in, replace y with the 1 equals 7, replace the x with 9, so we have 1 equals, that's 63, 7 times 9 plus b. We now know where the graph would pass through the through the y-axis. Subtract 63 from both sides to give us b equals 1 minus 63 is a negative 62. So we now know the value of b. My equation would be y equals 7x. Instead of plus b, what do I have? I have a minus 62. Good. For my final answer, y equals 7x minus 62. If you know the slope and a point on the line, you can use slope-intercept form, plug in the slope, you plug in the x and y they give you, then you're able to solve for b and get the equation written in slope-intercept form. Going back to my lab to punch in our answer. We get, oh, they already have the y equals for us. So what do we type in that box? I agree, 7x minus 62. The next question. It's the same type. They give us a slope and they give us a point. Oh, the difference is that they give us that the slope is a fraction, but we're not scared of fractions, so that's okay. Let's see, there it is. Number 2. Once again, we want to write the equation of the line until we know it's going to be y equals, in place of the m, we have 4/5, so y equals 4/5 x plus b. We don't know the b value, so we're going to have to replace x with 9, and what are we going to replace this y with? I agree, the negative 9. So we have, let's see, we have negative 9. We have negative 9 is equal to 4/5 times 9 plus b. So that says negative 9 is equal to 4/5 times 9. Remember, that's like a 9 over 1. You don't multiply both the 4 and 5 by the 9. You multiply 4 times 9, that's 36 all over. 5 times 1 is 5 plus b. I seem to think that in class, y'all liked it best if we just got rid of the fraction right now. We would have to multiply all the way across by what to get rid of that denominator of 5? Yes, we'd multiply by 5. So multiply by 5, multiply by 5, multiply by 5. 5 times negative 9, that's a negative 45, equals, the 5's are going to cancel. What are we going to have left there? 36, I agree, plus 5b. I'd subtract 36. Negative 45 minus 36, is that a negative 81? Negative 45 minus 36 gives me a negative 81 equals 5b. And then to solve for b, what do? We divide by 5 to give us b equals negative 81 over 5. So this equation right here, instead of, we have y equals, it's 4/5 x, but instead of the plus b, we have a minus 81/5. For my final answer, any questions there? It looked like number 1, and that they gave us the slope and a point, so we plugged in the slope, we plugged in the coordinates of the point they gave us for x and y, but because of the fraction we did multiply through to get rid of the denominator, but then it fell out pretty quickly. Typing in our answer, we have y equals, that is a 4/5, get out of the denominator before you type that x, minus 81/5. Next question. Oh, find the equation of a line containing the given pair of points. Wait a minute. If you're going to find an equation of a line, you have to know something about the slope. In 1 and 2, they gave you the slope. Here, they didn't give us the slope. But remember, we know the slope formula. We have a formula that we can use to find the slope of a line if the line is, when we know 2 points on the line. This is number 3. The line's passing through the points negative 1, 2, and 3, 3. Here it is. We know the slope of the line. We know the slope of we know the formula for the slope of a line. It's, does anyone remember it? It's a fraction. No, that's the distance formula. Yeah, y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So that's x1, y1. The first order pair we wrote down, I think of as x1, y1. The second order pair I think of as x2, y2. So we're using the slope formula to find the slope of the line. y2, that's 3. What are we going to have here? What's y1? The first y they gave us was 2, I agree. What's going to go here? x2. Yeah, well, it's that first 3 there. Minus x1. I agree with the 1. Oh, this is working out pretty nicely. What are we getting for our slope? 3 minus 2 is 1 over. 3 minus 1 is 2. So we now know the slope of the line. The slope of the line is 1/2. So we know the slope is equal to 1/2. Let's make this like that previous problem. On number 2, you knew the slope and they gave you a point. Well, here they gave us 2 ordered pairs. I'll just use the first one, the one that has the smallest numbers. Do the same thing we did with the previous problem. We know slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. You know y, the slope of the line is, the slope-intercept form of the line is y equals mx plus b, so we'll replace that m with 1/2. And what are we going to do to find b? That's right, we're going to use the point. X will become, the x variable will be replaced with a 1. The y variable will be replaced with a 2. So we have 2 equals 1/2 times 1 plus b. Well, that says 2 is equal to 1/2 times 1 is just a 1/2 plus b. Do y'all want to work with the fraction to get b, or do you want to get rid of the denominator? Okay, we'll get rid of the denominator. We have a denominator of 2. Let's multiply both sides across by 2. So we're going to multiply by 2, multiply by 2, and multiply by 2. Two times 2 is 4 equals, what's about to happen here? The 2's cancel. 1 divided by 1 is 1 plus 2 times b. Any questions there? Multiply every term through by that denominator 2 to give us 4 equals 1 plus 2b. Now it's a simple matter of solving for b. Subtract 1. 4 minus 1 says 3 is equal to 2b. And then what do? Divide by 2 to give me b equals 3 over 2. So coming back right here, instead of y equals 1/2 x plus b, our equation is going to be, we're going to replace that plus b with, that's a plus 3/2, a positive 3/2 for my final answer. It's the same as number 4. The only difference is we had to first of all use the slope formula to find the slope of the line. So switching over to my lab, let's punch in our answer. They gave us the y equals, so all we type is 1/2. Don't put the x in the denominator. Remember to tab over or use a right arrow. That's what I do. A right arrow plus 3/2. Any questions there? Number 4. Oh, it looks like we're looking at some function notation. H of x is equal to x plus 20. They want us to find h of 0. Okay. Here's the function. H of x equals x plus 20. They want us to find h of 0. What's that notation saying to do? Whatever's in the parentheses, that's what you replace the variable with. So instead of an x plus 20, you have a 0 plus 20, which gives us a y value of 20. H of 0 is 20. Now h of negative 10. H of negative 10. Switching to my work. That says wherever you see an x, replace it with negative 10. Negative 10 plus 20 gives us a positive 10. I agree. H of negative 3. H of negative 3. Let me switch to my work. H of negative 3, that says go to your function h, and wherever you see a variable, replace the variable with negative 3. So we have a negative 3 plus 20. Negative 3 plus 20 gives me a positive 17. So type in our positive 17. H of 13. H of 13. H of 13 says go to my function h, and wherever I see a variable, replace it with 13. So instead of x plus 20, we have 13 plus 20, which gives us a 33. Gives us a 33. And one more. H of c plus 4. H of, no, it's a c plus 1. It's a good thing I looked back. I want us to find h of c plus 1. H of c plus 1, that says go to your function h, and where you see a variable, you're going to write c plus 1. So you have a c plus 1, and you still have what stuck on there? The plus 20. I agree. So that's going to give us just a c plus 21 for our final answer. Whatever's in the parentheses, that's what you replace the variable with. If there's more than one variable, you replace every variable in the problem with whatever's in the parentheses. Number 5. Oh, it looks like it's another function notation problem. Okay, so g of x is 4x. They want us to find g of negative 17, g of 6, and g of 23. Okay. G of negative 17. That says go to your function g, and wherever you have a variable, replace it with negative 17. I agree. 4 times negative 17. Is that a negative 68? 17 times 4 is 68. So negative 68. G of 6. We go to my function. We replace the x with 6. 4 times 6 gives me 24. And finally, g of 23. That says go to my function g, and wherever you see a variable, replace it with 23. 4 times 23, is that 92? For my final answer. Notice I already have number 6 written down there. That's what that is. So g of negative 17 was negative 68. G of 6 was 24. And g of 23 was 92. Any questions there? Okay. Number 6. We have the function f of x equals 4x minus 5x. And there are 3 parts to this one. The first one they want us to find is f of 0. F of 0, that says go to your function f, and where you see a variable, you're going to write a 0. I agree. Notice there's more than one instance where the variable is going to, there's more than one term containing a variable. Replace both of those x's with 0, and what's that going to give us? Yeah, that's all 0 for my first answer. F of 0 is equal to 0. Now they want f of negative 1. F of negative 1. Come back to my paper. F of negative 1. Let's see. There. F of negative 1. That says go to your function f, and where you see a variable, you're going to replace it with negative 1. So replace that x there with negative 1, and this one here with negative 1. Remember your order of operations. You perform the exponentiation first. Negative 1 squared is positive 1 times 4 gives me just a 4. Negative 5 times negative 1, that's a plus 5. 4 plus 5 gives me a final answer of 9. So f of negative 1 is equal to 9. And one more, f of 2. F of 2. So I want f of 2. That says go to your function f, and wherever you see a variable, replace it with 2. I agree. 2 squared is 4. Times 4 is 16. Remember, perform the exponentiation before you start multiplying. Minus 5 times 2 is 10. 16 minus 10 gives us a final answer of 6. Any questions there? So we go back to my lab and we type in the 6. Number 7. Oh, it's back to lines. Find the slope of the line. Hey, we know how to find the slope of the line. We know the slope formula. If we had 2 points, we could just use the slope formula, couldn't we? We better look at this graph and see if we can figure out some ordered pairs. Or, you know, something that would be fun. Y'all remember rise over run? There's the slope formula. That difference in the y values is called the rise. The difference in the x values is called the run. I think we could use rise over run to find the slope of this line pretty quickly. So coming back here, notice the line passes through the y-axis clearly right there, and it passes through the x-axis right there. I'm going to start at this point and work my way to this point here. Let's see. Let's start at the low point. What would the rise be? The vertical movement. If I start here, I'd have to go up. So that's in the positive direction. 1, 2, 3. So my rise, in this case, would be a positive 3. Oops, go back. So we've moved up 3 units. Now we're going to go do the run to try to get to this point. Are we going to have to go in the the negative direction or the positive direction to get to this second point? We're going to go in the positive direction, so our run will also be positive. How many units? 1, 2, 3, 4. So our run is a positive 4. Positive 3 divided by positive 4 gives us a slope of 3/4. Any questions there? Did y'all hear that? Yes, we could just use the slope formula. If you don't like using rise over run, I can clearly tell 2 points on this line. That would be the point left, right, 0, down 3. So we'd have the ordered pair 0, negative 3. And what's the other point? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4, 0. We could have just, instead of using rise over run, we could have identified 2 points on the graph and then said, okay, this is x1 and y1. This is x2 and y2. Then use the slope formula. If we do, I bet you we're going to get 3/4. Do y'all want to see that? Yes? Okay. So y2, the second y is 0. The first y is a negative 3. Watch out those double negatives. What would I have here? x2, 4. And here, x1, 0. I agree. Watch those double negatives. What's that about to become? That becomes a 0 plus 3. So we have a positive 3 all over. 4 minus 0, I agree with 4. So either way, we're getting a slope of 3/4. The slope is 3/4. Now before we go on, what sort of a line would we have had if the slope had been undefined? A vertical line. Remember, the slope of a vertical line isn't defined. The slope tells us how the y values change when the x values change by 1 unit. Well, on a vertical line, the x values never change. Number 8. Find the slope of the line. This is number 8. Find the slope of the line given, shown on the graph to the right. Notice they're trying to point out 2 distinct points, there and there. What would be the ordered pair of that point up there on the left? 1, 2, 3. So is that a negative 3, positive 3? What about this one? That would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, positive 3. So we could look at the graph and use rise over run. The formula, okay, we'll do it with the formula again. There's x1, y1, x2, y2. Remembering the slope formula, which is right up here at the top of the page, we have a y2 is 3 minus y1 is 3. What have we got here? x2, I agree, that's a 4 minus here a negative 3. x2 minus x1. 3 minus 3, that's a 0 over here. That becomes a plus to give us 7. And 0 divided by 7 is 0. So the slope of the line is 0. All horizontal lines have a slope of 0. And notice, if we had used rise over run, because I bet some of y'all wanted to use rise over run, start here. How many units up or down do you move to get on the same level as this secondary point? 0. So you had a rise of 0. Moving in the positive direction, you would have had to move 7 units. Rise of 0. So just like this little formula, just like what we did with the formula, the rise was 0, the run was 7. So if you wanted to use rise over run, you would have still gotten a 0 for the slope. Any questions there? Y'all are a quiet bunch. Number 9. Oh, I think it's another find the slope of the line given oh no, this is just find the slope. Earlier we wrote the equation. This will be easier. Good. I think number 3 we actually found the slope and wrote an equation of the line. Here the line passes through the points -5, +5, and 3, 0. Let me switch over to there. We want to find the slope, and we know the slope formula. I'll write it down again for you. y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. The first order pair, that's x1, y1. The second order pair that I wrote down, x2, y2. What would go here? 0, I agree, minus y1, 5. What about down here? x2 is 3 minus x1, -5. 0 minus 5 is a -5. What are we getting for the denominator? 3 minus a -5, 3 plus 5, I agree with 8. For a final answer of -5/8. We come over here and we type in a -5/8. Any questions there? Number 10. Find the slope of the line given with the equation 5x plus y equals -7. Seems like this second quiz has a lot of line stuff, doesn't it? 5x plus y equals -7. Oh, they want the slope and the y-intercept. So they want the slope of the line, and they want the ordered pair where the line passes through the y-axis. Well, to find the slope and the y-intercept, you should get it in slope-intercept form. Remember, if you solve an equation for y, that number in front of x is the slope, and the y-intercept is the ordered pair 0, and the y-coordinate is whatever that b value is. So let's solve this equation for y. All we have to do, it's a one-step thing to get y by itself. Yes, move the 5x over. That positive 5 will become a negative 5. So negative 5x minus 7. So my slope is negative 5. My y-intercept is the ordered pair 0, negative 7. That's right. Use the negative. That minus there becomes a sign on the b. So this line has a slope of negative 5 and a y-intercept of 0, negative 7. So the slope is negative 5 and the y-intercept is, it's an ordered pair. Notice if you just type negative 7, they're going to count it wrong, and you say, well, you can correct it. Not on the test. That's why you have to pay attention to these instructions, because here in the homework, if you mess up, you can correct the problem. But when you're taking the test, or I should say the quiz, yeah, they're not going to let you do that. Any questions there? Any questions about this one? Number 11, same instructions. Let me write it down. We want the slope and y-intercept of the line 10x plus 2y is equal to 2. We need to solve for y, so I move the 10x to the right to give me 2y equals a negative 10x plus 2. I'm putting the x term first because slope-intercept form is standard practice to put the x term first. But we haven't solved for y. What do we need to do? I agree, divide by 2 to give us y equals negative 10 divided by 2 is a negative 5, don't forget the x, plus 2 divided by 2 is 1. So what's my slope? Looks like it's another negative 5. That's just a coincidence that the slope on number 10 was negative 5 also. What's my y-intercept? 0, positive 1. I agree. So, any questions there before I type it in? We had to solve for y. And the number in front of x was the slope. That constant term tells you the y-coordinate of where the line passes through the y-axis. So the slope is negative 5, and the y-intercept is the ordered pair 0, 1. Number 12. Oh, goodness. It's a difference quotient problem, which is just a function notation problem. The expression f of x plus h minus f of x all over h is called the difference quotient. Find and simplify the difference quotient for the following function. Let me write this down. This is number 12. F of x is equal to negative 7x squared plus 9x plus 8. And they want us to find f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. Let me make sure I didn't miscopy this problem before I switch over to my paper. Okay. There. When I'm simplifying a difference quotient, I break it into three parts. The first thing I do is find f of x plus h. Do y'all remember this problem back here that we did a few minutes ago? Number 4. Remember that h of c plus 1? That says go to h and replace the variable with whatever's in the parentheses. So here, for f of x plus h, I'm going to have to go to the function of wherever I see a variable, replace it with x plus h. That's right. So I'm going to find f of x plus h. That's all I'm doing to start off with. That says come up here, and wherever you see an x, there are two of them, you're going to replace it with x plus h. So replace that x with x plus h. Replace that second x with x plus h. We still have that plus h stuck on there. The common mistake when squaring x plus h is to just square x and square h. But that's not how you square a binomial. A sum or difference squared. What do we do to square x plus h? Okay, you write it twice. So here's my scratch work. X plus h quantity squared. I'm going to write it as x plus h times x plus h. So here's my scratch work that I'm doing. Binomial times a binomial. How do we multiply that? 4-letter word starting with f. FOIL. Okay. First times first is x squared. Plus outer x times h. That's xh. I'm going to write it in alphabetical order. hx. You'll see why in a moment. Plus inner. What's the inner product going to be? H times x, another hx. By writing them in alphabetical order, you spot that they're like terms easier. And last, h times h. No, it's not 2h, h squared. That's right. This f of x plus h is the longest part of the problem. So we then have x squared. hx plus hx is plus 2hx. Plus h squared. Any questions on what I did? All I've done is square that x plus h. X plus h times x plus h. I FOILed it out and got x squared plus 2hx plus h squared. But we have something sitting in front of that, don't we? In front of x plus h squared, what have we got? A negative 7? That means we're going to have to distribute negative 7 over all of that. So start calling it out. What are we going to have? Negative 7 times x squared is negative 7x squared. Negative 7 times a positive 2hx. Negative 7 times positive 2, a minus 14hx, right? Negative 7 times h squared is a negative 7h squared. So we distributed the negative 7 over the x plus h quantity squared. Here, what are we going to do here? The same thing. We're going to distribute. This time we're distributing a 9. So that'll be a plus 9x. And what else? A plus 9h. And we still have what stuck on? A plus 8. So the first thing I did, I think of that as my A part. I found f of x plus h. The rest of these, there are 3 steps here. The next two are pretty fast. As I said, f of x plus h is usually the longest part of the problem. Then part B. We're going to take what we just found, f of x plus h, and we're going to take away the original function f of x. That minus right there, this minus that I'm highlighting right there, that operates like the old takeaway for subtraction. Take what you just found and take away what's in the original function. Negative 7x squared, take away negative 7x squared. The negative 7x squared is just dropped off. What else is going to drop off? The 9x, take away 9x, 9x minus 9x. The 9x is gone. And what else? Everything in the original function is being subtracted out. So if you understand what they're asking for here, you can get the answer without really showing any additional work. You're just dropping off the terms from the original function. So that's a negative 14hx minus 7h squared plus 9h. And finally, we're ready to get the final answer. So that was part B, subtracting off the f of x. Now part C, that's where I divide by h. Divide by h. Notice something. In part B, every term that's left has the letter h. So we can just divide each term by h. H divided by h cancels out. What is that first term going to be? A negative 14x, I agree, minus. Here, cancel one h above and below to give us just a minus 7h. And here, cancel the h's to get a plus 9. For negative 14x minus 7h plus 9. Type it in our final answer. Negative 14x minus 7h plus 9. Any questions on this one before we go on? Find f of x plus h first. Then take away the original function's terms. Then divide the remaining terms by h. And they'll all have an h. The only ones left here, after you take away the original terms, will be the terms containing h. Okay. Number 13. I think this one will be a little bit shorter, it looks like. Let me write the problem down. We have f of x is equal to negative 3x plus 5. They want us to find f of 2m like money minus 3. I know my M like money and N like Nancy sounds similar, so that's a M like money. We know how function notation works. That says go to your function f, and wherever you have a variable, replace it with what's in the parentheses. So we have a negative 3. Replace that variable with the parentheses 2m minus 3. And now it's a matter of simplifying. What are we going to have to do to get rid of those parentheses? Starts with a D. Distribute to give me a negative 6m plus 9 And we still have that plus 5 for a final answer. What can we do? Oh, that's right. We'll add 9 plus 5 gives me a plus 14 for my final answer. It's getting sort of late. Do y'all want to... Well, there's only 2 problems left in the review. Let's go ahead and finish it up. Yes? Let's finish it up. So we have a negative 6, m like money, plus 14. Any questions there? Number 14. Oh, I like this problem. We can answer it without showing any work if you understand what they're asking for. They've given us a set of ordered pairs, and notice there's no repeated x value, so it is a function. They want us to find f of negative 4. So the number there in the parentheses is x. When x is negative 4, what's the y value? Remember, the value of the function is the y value. So when x is negative 4, the value of the function is the y value 1. Good. Did y'all get that? Let's do a similar question. Okay. What's the x value in this case? 0. When x is 0, don't go to that one because that's a y value, not an x value. When x is 0, the y value is negative 5. Good. Y'all got the hang of that? One more question. It's another function notation question. Remember, the number in the parentheses is the x value. The value of the function is the y value. So when x is negative 3, we're looking at this graph. Oh, I think let's do it like this. There. When x is negative 3, what's the y value? When x is negative 3, there it is, that ordered pair. When x is negative 3, the y value is 0. I agree. F of 0. What's the x value here? The x is 0. When x is 0, the y value is 6. I agree. You're looking at the graph. When x is 0, there's the point. The y value is 6. F of 2. When x is 2, what's the y value? My cursor is pointing at the ordered pair right there. What did you say? I couldn't hear you. 2. I agree. When x is 2, y is 2. And finally, f of 6. When x is 6, the y value is, it's also 6, isn't it? Any questions there? Okay, great. We got this whole review done in under an hour. So I'll upload it to YouTube, and y'all have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.